Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Hannah. I'm the project lead on Team 18 Large Rats, the lead of all of my rats. And today we will be presenting the vertical slice presentation for this planet. Alright, so welcome to our vertical slice presentation. So a brief summary about our game before we get into it today. Husk Planet is about a faceless spacefarer who is led to an abandoned planet by their robot companion. And when they land on the planet, they are faced with an imposing monolith in the distance where the majority of our game takes place. Inside of the monolith, the visitor must go through a series of language puzzles where they decipher alien glyphs in order to find out not only why the planet is empty, but why it was abandoned. And for what you're going to see for vertical slice, oops, sorry, it was the wrong button. Okay, got it. So for what you're going to see on vertical slice, we're focusing on the first level within the monolith, which centers around this guy that we call the Fire Ascended. He's one of the false gods that led to the destruction of this planet. And he rests inside of a burnt library where you will go through your first true puzzle of our game. All right. Oh, sorry. So defining vertical slice. This is the exact thing I had on our first status update presentation. We want to hit visual target within the first level of the monolith, and we want to have a fully white box first level with a complete playable puzzle. And I'm happy to say that we achieved that for vertical slice. And before I talk about our goals, I do want to preface with, we got a really useful piece of feedback from Rick during our first status update presentation, which was that what we stated what we wanted done for vertical slice versus what we presented and what we said we wanted to get done for vertical slice didn't quite line up. It felt like our vision and our goals were disjointed. So, keeping that in mind, here's a list of everything I said we would theoretically get done. And everything in blue is after that presentation, these are things I realized we don't need to put extra time and extra focus in this. We don't need these for vertical slice. Everything in green are things that we did get done and that you will see in our build. And things in yellow are the things that we would have liked to get done. They're a work in progress, but not for display here because they're not quite there yet. So let's talk about our design goals. We evaluated these in the same way as we did before, but we only really removed one, which was the room scanning function with the glyph highlighting. Ron did mention that it would probably be used as a crutch by a player. And we thought that was relevant, so we didn't see any need to put it in this presentation. That being said, we prototyped it, and if we ever do see a need for it, we could pop it right in. So we got most of this done. The only thing we didn't was we did not flesh out the UI as much as we would have liked to for vertical slice, but we still have something there, functional, understandable, and we'll be excited to show it to you. So let's talk about the visitor. That is the formal name we're using for our player character. You can see that they have their little Space Explorer bubble helmet. And I'm going to break down some of the numbers for you for the visitor. So the design took about 15 hours. It was our most iterated on design. And the model took 10 hours. The texture took 2. And the rig so far has taken 6 hours. We used a pre-made rig, and we had Casey, a wonderful contractor, come and do the skin weights for us. But we expect it to take 6 more hours for adding a ribbon spline to help with deformations on the big poofy pants. And so in total, that'll bring us up to 12 hours working on the rig. And so in total, we spent 33 hours, but we expect it to be 39 by the time we're done with it. Our second character is Little Buddy. He is your guide for the monolith, and he is your steadfast companion as you navigate this alien world. So Little Buddy's design took about 5 hours. His model took 8, and his texture so far, we're saying, has taken 20. His UVs gave us a lot of trouble for reasons we're not really sure of, which is why he's not textured for vertical slice. But we don't expect his texture to take long. Beryl has made us a very streamlined and robust step-by-step instruction for texturing in our style, so we only expect it to take 3 additional hours, bringing texturing to about 23. And the rig, we expect to take about 13 hours. And that brings Little Buddy's total to 33 hours that we spent on him so far, and we expect to have a total of 49 hours on Little Buddy. And the last character that you'll see today, he is the least complete, but he is in there, is the Fire Ascended, the false god in the center of the first puzzle and within our monolith. And his design took about 5 hours. His model took about 23. His texture we expect to take 7, and his rig we expect to take 6. He doesn't move around, he doesn't animate. We really just need to rig him and skin weight him enough to sit there and be dead in the pose that we want him to be in. And so we've spent 28 hours on him. We expect the total amount of time to be 41 hours. All right, let's talk animation. We are very lucky to have 50% of the animation prowess of this cohort with Nathaniel. He is awesome and amazing, and all of our animations are hand-keyed. We decided not to use mocap. So he's gotten 7 animations done since we started production in January. So here's 4 of them. We have a walk cycle, run cycle, and various animations for interacting. And here's the other 3. I can't put them all on one slide. They don't fit, and it lags out PowerPoint. So here are the other 3 more simple animations here. And I'm going to break down these stats a little bit. So later when I say how much animation we can theoretically get done, it'll make sense. So we have 7 animations done. I showed you all of them. And on average, an animation by Nathaniel takes about 6.5 hours. Our longest animations so far have taken 8.5 hours. Those are things like walk cycles, run cycles, or any interaction with complex constraining. And our shortest was the idle animation, which you can actually see on the right of the screen. That took 2.5 hours. So an animation like that is relatively quick. So let's talk about our shader. In our last presentation, this is the shader we showed you. This is the Cohort filter. I explained it in the way that it averages pixels and it blurs out. But Cheryl actually made a really great point during that time that if you have a language-based game, you want your hard edges of your glyphs to be as clear as possible. We thought this would work with line art, and spoiler alert, it didn't. It didn't at all, right? It still wasn't giving us the clarity we needed, and as Katie likened it to trying to look at something without your glasses on, which we thought was really, really accurate. But one of the reasons we wanted something like this, a post-process effect like this, was also for a practical reason, not just stylistically. We wanted a shader that could help us brute force some asset packs into matching. And I will say that we did get that with our new shader that you saw in the intro video. So this is our set dress visual target without our shader. And this is our set dress visual target with our shader. So you can see that it does a lot of heavy lifting for our style. It brings something unique, but we don't have to hand paint those textures on everything. The shader takes care of it for us.
Could you move back and forth with that a couple times?
Yeah, of course. So, no shader, yes shader. So it's
Thank you for accommodating my feelings.
It's okay, we're good, always. All right, and the last slide before we get into our demo is language rules. So during our first presentation, one of the big critiques from Ron we got was, you don't need your language rules defined in a month, you need them defined yesterday. And we took that advice and we went to work. And so we made a set of rules for making the glyphs of our language, the shapes, so that all of them look consistent. And I'm not going to read all these. This is 4 out of 15 rules to make glyphs. So you have a very specific rules that we can judge glyphs on for making them and saying, yep, those are good, or no, those are bad. That doesn't fit with the style of our game. And I'm not going to read all these, but I will show you an example of bad glyphs. All right. So here are bad glyphs. This glyph is a bad glyph. It has a circle. It's not attached to any lines. We're not allowed to have floating circles. This one is a line that kind of goes in on itself over and over again, also not allowed. And this one has curved lines. And other than circles and semicircles, we don't want anything that's curved and not straight. We have a very specific semicircle and half circle that you have to use in our Illustrator doc to construct these glyphs. So these are bad. We don't like this. Here are good glyphs. And I would like you to pay attention because these are not only good glyphs, they're relevant glyphs to our demo. All right, so here's the first glyph. This one means dead. Here's our second glyph. This one means place. And something I didn't mention, but is also relevant, is that much like compound words, you can combine glyphs to make something of a derived meaning. So if you put these together, dead and place, it makes our word for monolith. In the tutorial level, this is the information that you'll basically get for free. You will see dead place scrawled on the front of the monolith, and that is relevant information going into the first level. The concept of our game is that you are learning language and that knowledge of language is building up over time. So these are relevant in the first puzzle of the game after the tutorial. So before we go into our demo, I want to point this out. And now it's time to demo our puzzle. So we're in our game. For this, Joe will be driving, but I will be playing as the player. All right, Joe. Right away, I see these two glyphs right here at the top. I would like to scan both of them. Ooh. And this one I know I've seen before. This one means place. If I open my notebook, that is translated for me. Yep. And this one right here, I'm not quite sure about. I've never seen it before. So in this area, Joe, I'm gonna take notes. Say I saw it at the entrance of the level. Other than that, I have no idea.
Pardon my typing.
Looks like little buddy wants me to walk further in to the level. So I would like to go find little buddy. I trust him implicitly. All right. Oh, all right. In we go. Onwards. All right. So, wow. Something bad happened to that guy. Okay. Well, I'd like to scan these two glyphs right here, Joe. So this one I've seen before. Still not quite sure what it means, but I know that it was labeled at the entrance next to the glyph that means place. This one, no clue. First time seeing it. So, Joe, can you open the notebook again for me? Right, next to this one. Other one, Joe. Thank you. Sorry, you can't see my laser pointer, that's on me. Can you type in here, found next to corpse, question mark? All right. Go back. Right. So, looks like little buddy wants me to go this way, and everything else looks blocked off. So I'll follow little buddy. And I'm going to pause right here and say this is the entrance into our visual target. It's what we showed earlier. Right, little buddy is he's dancing over there, so I'm gonna see what's up with him. All right, and looks like I should go up these stairs. And there's a big book on this pedestal, separate from the rest of the books here. So I'd like to go look at that, please. Can I pick that up? Okay, can I look at it closely? Okay, wow. All right, this is looks like a couple of people. They're labeled. This looks like my dead guy in the center of the room. All right, can you cover up with this, please? Can we scan that? Okay, interesting. This one. I've never seen these two before. I have seen this, and it's on both diagrams, pointing to this guy's hand. It's interesting. And this looks like a regular guy because he has no horns. This guy is really big and has horns. So I'm going to say, and you can take notes for me on this, Joe, that this means regular person. The thing with the hat means dead guy. And can you change it to big dead guy? Okay, thank you. And I think this one means hand. Right here. Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. And one more. Go back, Joe. Back to the notebook. This right here. Can we make a note for this one? I'm going to say that I've sufficiently seen this place with all of its shelves and all of its books, and it came before place. So I'm going to say this means knowledge or book. Thank you. All right. Seems like there's nowhere else to go, so I would like to go back to the corpse. All right. So now looking at these glyphs again, I see book or knowledge, and I see hand, and it looks like his hand, little spot. Can I interact with that, Joe? That's a puzzle solving choice. Because I did something right. The door open. All right, Joe. I want to go through the newly opened passageway. Oh, bring me here, please. Okay. So, Joe, can I try to go over here? Ah, looks like there's nothing for me there. Can I go the other direction, please? Interesting. What's up this ramp? It's a door, and it's locked. Okay, let's go up through the front here. And that is interesting. Looks like some sort of mosaic. Can we look at it in full? I know that guy. I just saw him dead in the center of the room. And I know that this is like his name or something. This refers to him, the big dead guy in the center of the room. This is new. But I see it next to this with his hand. I'd like to make a note, Joe. Magic? Fire? Something like that, right? All right, back to the game. And I kind of want to get out of here because it's giving me the creeps. So I need to find a way to use this knowledge to get me out. Can you walk this way, Joe? What do you know? A computer. Can you open that up for me, Joe? So I know off the bat this is asking me a question. Thank you for the question mark. And I'm going to take a deep look at these glyphs. Okay, these two I know for sure, right? This one is place, and this one means dead. I know that from the tutorial level when I was walking to the building across the desert. Now this right here, I've assumed means knowledge or book. And if you put that knowledge and book in place together, well, probably a library, There's a lot of books here. So I'm going to say this is saying what died in the library. Right. Okay, so Jill, we know this guy died for sure. So can you press that for me? And I'm going to say he died. You click the dead one. He died because there was fire. Can you answer that? Looks like our door is open. Puzzle! Right? I would like to leave this creepy place, Joe. Thank you. Woo! I would have loved to end on that, but I have a little bit of boring stuff to get to. So let's talk about scheduling and a little bit about what we've been doing for the last month. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about meetings. So this is a graph of our meetings over time, week by week. It's total man hours, which is why it reaches up nearly to 60. Okay, nobody was in 60 hours of the meetings on their own. But you don't have to look at it too long. You can just kind of look at the shape, where it dips down, because I'm going to break it down for you even closer. Right. So here's a graph, and here's the first week. I think that looks pretty normal. We're getting on our feet, so there's a high amount of meeting times. And this right here, the gray, are leads meetings, because we all just got back together after winter break, and we were trying to figure out what we were doing, what direction we were going. Right. Right here, now that's a crazy spike in design meetings, right? And I can tell you exactly what that is. That's puzzles. That's puzzles. We were told that a language-based puzzle game was hard. Didn't know just how hard, right? We spent a lot of time in puzzle meetings that first time. But then we dipped back down. And if you remember our status update presentation, we said, Hannah, you guys didn't have a puzzle then, and this is before that. Right? Yes. We thought maybe we could sit on this puzzle that was about 90% of the way there, but we had trouble getting there. Thank you, Ron, for helping us out with that. Now, right here is our first status update. And while it went well, there was this feeling of a little bit of disconnect between our different teams and the vision that everybody had on our team of this game. And we realized we needed a lot more iteration than we thought we did. We needed something fast, we needed something punchy, because everybody tells you that you need to iterate on your designs, on your white boxes, on your art. But something else you need to iterate on is your development methodology, your communications, your pipelines, one thing to an end. So we did what we thought was best, and we switched to Kanban. We switched to Kanban for the last 3 weeks, from then, our first status update, until vertical slice. And while it was messy, it was just the kind of messy we needed to get on our feet and get our designers together. So we were really happy with the results of that. But you might say, Hannah, are you doing Kanban until the end of production? And the answer is no way, right? Kanban is not sustainable for that long. But we used it as a tool, and we got exactly what we needed out of it. So we're taking the best things we learned from Kanban, all that iteration, the workflows that we got together, and we're putting it into Scrum to make us more efficient and more communicative than we were before. All right, so let's talk about the projected alpha date. The projected alpha date is July 1st. That's 1 month before August 1st, where we'll be giving our final presentation, so we will be taking the entire month for alpha. And before I go into the milestone schedule, I'll break down everything I talked about, what we have done so far, and then the scope of our game, and then we'll go to milestone schedule. We'll be about done. All right, so we have less than 1 level done. You guys saw it. We spent a lot of time in puzzles and in our visual target, and we have a pipeline to go forward, so that's where we're at with levels. We have roughly 2.5 characters. Each one of the characters I showed today did need one thing or another. Two of them need to be textured and rigged, one of them just needs a little extra help with those deformations. And we have 7 animations done. once again, can't put all of them on the screen at once or it lags out PowerPoint. Right. So what does the full game look like? We're looking at 2.5 levels. I say half a level for our tutorial level because so far the way our team has been using level is something that has one of our language-based puzzles in it. In our tutorial level, that's about getting your feet wet. We give you glyphs for free. You're getting used to the UI, you're getting used to the scanning function. We intend to get 4 characters now, so that's the 3 you saw today, and 1 additional character who will be the other deceased star of our last level, our second corpse, if you will. And we can, if Nathaniel did nothing but animate and go to meetings, get 30 animations done. We have not, depending on the level we go to, we might require more animations or less animations, but we're confident that with how amazingly fast he is at animating, we'll be able to get that full scope in. All right, and here's our milestone schedule. So you don't have to look too closely. I'm going to break it down row by row. But this is what it looks like. We're looking at 2-week sprints going forward, skipping over GDC and starting again after. And from June 16th to July 1st, going back to Kanban. And so this is a breakdown of the levels, so you can see where we want our fire library level done, everything in it, and spend the rest of the time polishing with less man hours dedicated to it. Here, while we're working on the fire library, we're going to be getting that puzzle together for the second level. We're going to get concept art together to figure out what we're looking at there. And we will be working on the production part of that until right before we switch to Kanban. After that, it's polished, and then we have our tutorial level kicking in on our second sprint after vertical slice. And for our characters, once again, I won't get too far into it, but we've step-by-step shown what we need to get done for each of the characters, and we've broken it into a step-by-step process, and yeah, here it is. And of course, playtesting dates. I see that this is a pretty late playtesting date, and that is just because of the nature of our game. When we find our ideal playtesters, we don't want to come to them with a half-baked level, a half-baked puzzle. Because once they solve it one time, we can't show it to them again. We can't get a genuine, I was confused on this, because they won't be confused anymore. They've done it before. That's not to say we won't show people our game and have them hop in and tell us what they think in this time. But our first formal playtesting date is well after everything is in our library level. After that, we have a playtest with South Sumter High School. All the capstone games are doing that. That was arranged by Kenny. I'm super excited for that one because high schoolers do not hold back. So we're really excited about it. And then we have 2 more playtesting dates in the latter half of semester, early summer. Right? And one more kind of thing I'm going to impart is Rich Grula is my faculty advisor, and I asked him for tips about my presentation and what I should cover. He advised me that my presentations are not just for faculty members, but they're for my teammates. And I thought that was really, really helpful and so true. So what we learned is, well, I talked about it earlier, that after that first status update, we weren't satisfied. We didn't feel like our communication was good. So what happened was I messaged every single one of my teammates and I prefaced it with, you won't hurt my feelings, but you need to tell me everything you are upset about with this project, everything that you think is going wrong right now. You want to do a one-on-one, you want to tell me on Discord, doesn't matter, tell me. And I heard a lot, right? And it can be hard to hear a lot like that. But it was incredibly useful, and it's also awesome because I had teammates that not only came to me with problems, but they came to me with solutions. And it improved our process. It's why we switched to Kanban, and we're in way better shape than we were earlier. So, what did we learn? We learned that you shouldn't be afraid to seek out bad news. It's incredibly helpful in making us grow as students and as game developers. And here is the team. So, I have all the teammates here, but we have had 3 contractors come help us out with some little things. So we have Remy over there, who's sitting next to Pete, who helped us with some 3D modeling. We have Casey, who I don't believe is here, who helped us with painting the skin weights for our rig. And unfortunately, Colin is not here, although he has been coming to our meetings. and he's a level designer who just got accepted into FIEA. Like, real happy for him. And that's it.
First, and we're going to listen to Ron first.
Yes! I promise to take up all the time.
20 minutes.
Well, okay, we go quickly here, because I want to hear other people's opinions too. Great job. And I have to say, that was pristine control over the demo, Hannah.
Thank you.
You absolutely owned it. And you drove well too, Joe. You really did. You're hitting all the points that you needed to. I would be surprised if y'all didn't rehearse that.
We definitely did, yeah.
And that, I give you even more credit for that. That you rehearsed as opposed to people like, we're gonna be so awesome, we don't need to rehearse. Like, we'll see how this goes. But and you preserved the illusion that you didn't know what was going on, even though you knew every nook and cranny of the level. But you kept the player's perspective, like, what's that? Let me go look at this. And so often when E3 demos do that, it looks really fake because they hire actors who don't necessarily play games and understand that. But you played the role very well because it seemed earnest that you didn't know what was going on, even though Gildan was and the jokes, the puzzle solving sound, and the, oh, that's a computer, just great stuff. I love that. Just, the performance of that was fantastic. So I loved the demo. And I was really thrilled to see it all come to life because, you know, it was just like, just on a whiteboard as we were talking through it the other week, you know, and just to see all that get off the board onto the page was really thrilling for me. The opener with the visual target, fantastic mood setting with the library. It felt like an epic place. And I love libraries, and it felt also alien and cool. So I really loved that mood. I will say that once the player character came in, they're kind of doing like that game run speed, you know, so it kind of ruined the solemnity of that place. So I wouldn't use that as your trailer as is, because it kind of was then a tonal change. The room scanning is potentially abused as a crutch. I did say that, and I do mean that. But I would not say that doesn't mean you shouldn't put it in. There will be a certain segment of your player population that needs it, right? For accessibility reasons even. My encouragement to you is to try to find a way that you don't front it to players, because you don't really want them to engage a lot. It's almost like you make it a little bit kind of hard to use, not like bad quality of life, but not so easy and convenient that it is a crutch. Like, people will criticize that, the detective mode in Batman. It's like too easy to just leave it on, and you can just see all the stuff. You're not being Batman anymore, trying to look around for all the important things. What's the average age for your target psychographic?
Average age is, we're going from like late high school into like young professional. So like, say, 16 to 28.
Okay, then I think the player character is a misstep for that audience. It feels younger. It feels like it's almost a character that could be in one of those cool, fun, like PBS Kids games that my daughters play that I like to play with them. It's a cute character for that, but for like a high schooler or a young professional, it doesn't feel as much their vibe. So I would encourage you to think about that. I know you're deep into it, so it's kind of hard to change it at this point, but just wanted to give that note that I'm not sure that hits the right kind of demographic that you seem to be getting in. What message should we as the audience take from the granular hour forecasts?
The granular hour forecast for, sorry, can you clarify?
You gave modeling, texturing, rigging, animation time for all those different assets. Very detailed.
Yeah, I use that to break down how much we could do, but I do realize that's far removed from when I talk about how much we are planning to do, so I think that was good.
I was entertained by it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I don't regret a minute of that. But I also would wonder if there are other things that may be more important in a presentation to be considerate of time-wise, because you have such precious little time to try to condense down the summary. So,
Yes.
so while I enjoyed it, I don't know that you can and should necessarily have the luxury of getting to that level of granularity with your art estimations, especially since you didn't give me exact report over time on that stuff either, how long things were taking to do, so then it was kind of only a big picture of those hour spans.
Yep.
Dead, you had the words for dead and spit and place together.
Yes.
So then my brain went, oh, that's a grave, or a tomb, or a burial ground, or a cemetery, or a mausoleum.
Yes.
But it's not a monolith. So So if you put it on the monolith, it's like, oh, the monolith is a grade? But then what that makes me do is it says, oh, well then I guess those two glyphs don't make dead place. They don't make a grade because there's this big huge tower. So maybe those glyphs are for high place. And that dead glyph means high, because it's a really high tower, and it is a place, so
Yes.
got it, that means high, not dead. And now I'm confused in your language.
Yes.
So this is why language learning games are so hard, because the interpretation of the glyphs can be very different. So I encourage you to really be careful about that. And your testers, and you're right to know that you need a lot of fresh Kleenex testers,
Yes.
that will be imperatively important for you to differentiate those things. All right. 5 minutes, Rick. How did
Wow,
that-
that's pretty good for you.
Yes. Well, great job. I love
Thank
it.
you, thank you.
Mr. Z.
Okay, so I agree too. I was really pleased that you guys opened with the demo. I thought it was really, really cool. Immediately got me interested in what you had to show, you know? So I think really, really good job on that. I think Ron called this out, the animation on the character felt like he was a little floaty or maybe skating. There's something there. I don't know exactly what it is. You can talk to Cheryl and get the notes on that.
Yep.
Let's see, also, whenever your character is going into shadows, and this is the problem with Unreal in general, then there's no shadows underneath the character because you're in shadow.
Mhm.
They do have a thing called capsule shadows that you can put on there, and I think they made it specifically for that reason, where you can still get some contact between there. This is just a very minor thing. I remember when you were showing some of your slide stuff, you were showing the difference between this is yellow and this is green. I don't think I'm colorblind, but I could barely tell the difference, so you
Yeah.
probably want to make it a little bit more clear for
Okay.
us to be able to see that. So I didn't quite understand why the missing textures happen on the bot. Like I know I can't remember exactly what you said, but I just went away kind of going like, like I know it sounded like you hit some technical snag with it potentially, and that's why it didn't make
Yeah,
it.
that's why I didn't make it for vertical slice.
Okay, make sure you guys are bringing that stuff to our attention so we can help.
Okay.
Work, like, I think there was a missed opportunity with that, right? Like I said, the visual target ended up looking really good and really polished, and then to hear that part, I was just like, ew.
Yeah.
So it just kind of took it backwards a little bit on there. So the other thing is, I think you're talking about whenever you do get the UVs on there, how much time it's going to take for texturing. I did feel like, and I see this happen a lot with the student stuff. This happens in my 3D class too. Everybody spends all their time on modeling and making the models beautiful, and then textures and materials always get shortchanged, right?
Yes.
Like it's never getting its due time, and it takes quite a bit of time and effort and iteration to get that stuff right. And it also deals with not just making the textures, but putting in there next to the other stuff that's in the world, and then you gotta harmonize everything, and there's a tuning phase to that, and I just feel like your texture hours were like really, really low for that. I might call it something other than just textures, right? Like
Yeah.
it's materials, textures, and finally, this thing. So to me, there's a lot that goes into that, and that just seems a little bit low. So I want to keep everything positive, but the one thing that I walked away from the presentation, I think you did a great job presenting, I think you guys did a great job as a team, but then when I walked away looking from the overall demo, I felt like I was not looking at a complete vertical slice, because you showed me the really pretty thing at the beginning, and I can understand this idea of being able to put the demo together, make sure it's functional. You've already shown us what it could potentially look like, so it works, but I don't know if it's because of my expectations of what I've seen from other cohorts, where sometimes I've been in here and I'm just completely blown away by what I was seeing. It was especially last cohort, the anti-allegory it was an amazing vertical slice. So unfortunately, you're being judged against previous cohorts and what they've been able to kick out. So at the very least for me, I was hoping to see that that you guys would have taken those levels and they would have been lit correctly and everything. Like you would just try to do everything you could to match that visual target that you had, and then maybe you said, hey, this area, we put all the love and attention to this. Maybe the quality level is not as good, but it's close and it's at least passable or whatever. So to me, it just felt like a huge difference, right? I also think that there's like some missed opportunities where taking a look at like what's the final quality of glyphs and everything else like that. Because everything's in this very primitive level right now. I can't really comment on exactly what I'm seeing and if it works. Like the symbols are working for sure, but how does it work whenever you start to age it and put this material that you're putting on there and everything else like that? And I think Cheryl already made that comment, right? Where it's like you're going to be careful with this, how much you do to the treatment of that, because if you're too overboard, then you start to ruin this effect of us being able to read things, right? So yeah, there's me. Hopefully I was under 5 minutes. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're not gonna have time for everybody today, but I think we can squeeze in Chris and Cheryl if you guys have some feedback. And I'll catch you.
Okay.
Yeah, overall, I love the fact that you opened up with your visual target first thing. It kind of drew me in and made me become more interested. And overall, kudos for the nice border and the consistent presentation on your overall display. I thought it was a very coherent and very thought out thing. The visitor character, you guys are really coming into town. You're finishing it up, but still, I'm looking for where's the mystery or the intrigue about the character. I want to like the character, but right now, the only thing that's asking in my head is, why is he wearing bell-bottom blue jeans? I mean, that's what's keeping me going and so forth. And maybe he'll find his trailer or give it. But I don't know. I'm willing to play. A little buddy design, I agree with Nick. I think your rigging time is probably overscoped. Being a mechanical character, you don't really have to worry too much about it's not going to be that complicated. I want to know how much more detail you're going to put to the fire ascended. I mean, he's a dead guy. I don't know how much it's going to take. The animation is looking very good. 7 animations done. Congratulations. The animations are looking very good. We see him and we saw what they look like in the context of the game. I would agree with Nick that there's a lot of skating around. 30 animations sounds about right, for a robust character that doesn't have too much close-up time. So I think that's good. So allow your animator to animate and just let them keep cranking. Your shader style looks fantastic. I love the day and the night difference that you have on here. I really like the overall look that you have on here. Congratulations for pulling together on that direction. I do have to say that I don't think that the character should be showing off his specular component that much. Mm-hmm. So at least I know that this is a nitpicky setting, but I believe that the roughness on the shader should be tuned down a little bit because the specular component fights with the overall post-process that you're putting on. And I'm not a big fan of the way that the fire looks with the post-process shader. Because the rest of the scene comes across as 3D looking, but the fire flattens out. It becomes 2D, and it just somehow just doesn't fit into the scene somehow. I know it's a minor thing, and inside of your level, you had your ascended dude. He was getting burned like a weenie, and his fire was still raging on, and it didn't match the other one, so it was a little bit of a discord. Overall, your space felt too large and barren. It felt like it could be the same kind of amount of information just pulled in and brought in a lot tighter. I don't know if you guys want any kind of feedback on the lighting for the level, not the visual target, because I thought the visual target lighting was good.
That was temp lighting. Everywhere except for the visual target, incomplete lighting. Yeah.
Okay, overall, good presentation. Nice work.
Thank you.
All right, a lot of repeated stuff, but a couple of extra questions. So I really love the mosaic frame that y'all came up with, and the way your slides look now, the presentation looks much cleaner. I do love the new shader, but I was looking for examples of the glyphs with the new shader, and I didn't see any of that, right? So I don't know if it's gonna work yet. So the helmet seems a bit old school. If this is the future, is this the future sometime? Like, not just built out of hands, but like, I kept thinking, okay, old school space helmet from the 60s.
Yeah.
So I don't know what time period you're in, but if you're gonna rethink the look of the character based on Ron's comment, that one also my mind. The idle animation that you showed, like you had the examples, there were 3, just kept like repeating really fast. So it took them 2.5 hours to create, but I think it's too fast, like it's just too repetitive. So we might wanna add a little more to that, to give a little bit more variance. I agree with, I think it was Ron who said something about the running everywhere, or maybe it was Nick. But you might wanna have like a faster walk, like a walk and a faster walk, so it's not like constantly doing this like weird run. One of my pet peeves about games in general, because we don't really run everywhere when we're in real life, but I know you have to make up your distance some kind of way faster. I don't know if I would know where to go.
Yep.
So in the beginning, the little buddy guy brought you, like, come this way,
Yeah.
and then I felt like he was just kind of following you around, so I'm guessing that you're not there yet, but I'm hoping that if you're hanging around too long in a time, in a space, then it'll kind of like lead you somewhere else, so. And then my last question is, what is the ultimate goal for the player? Is that going to be revealed as
Yes.
you travel through? Okay.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Did you have any comments?
No, just really I wanted to commend you guys on the presentation. I know you made the comment, don't be afraid to seek out bad news, but I just want to challenge you all to don't be afraid to seek out any news, right?
Yeah.
You guys talked about iterating a lot also on your art, your production pipeline. Iterate on yourselves as a team as well. If you're not doing retrospectives, I would strongly recommend implementing that into your guys' ceremonies that y'all are doing every spring. Because it's going to be a great way for you guys to get feedback. What went right, what went wrong, and what do you want to keep doing? That'll help you guys out in the long run. A great presentation.
All right, follow that.
All right, thank you.